Welcome to the Stoic Storyteller. Your sanctuary for raw, unfiltered stories about the darker side of human nature. Here, we dive deep into the reality of life, the toxic relationships, the bitter betrayals, and the quiet, calculating art of absolute justice.
My son was rejected from college because the records said he killed his own mother in a fire. Then my dying grandmother sent me the original insurance tape. At her wake, my uncle expected us to apologize. Instead, I played the night he left my wife to burn. My son learned he was an arson suspect from a university email. Noah was 17, 3 weeks from graduation, and had spent 2 years building a scholarship application around engineering, robotics, and the kind of stubborn quiet that teachers mistake for maturity. He opened the message at breakfast, expecting a housing form. Instead, the screen said his admission was suspended, pending resolution of a violent offense flag. Offense type, arson resulting in death. Victim, Hannah Vale. Status, private juvenile diversion. Was my wife, Noah's mother. She died 3 years earlier when the Vale furniture mill burned through the east wing on a night of freezing rain. The official report blamed faulty electrical wiring, old varnish fumes, and delayed sprinklers. My family told me the insurer settled quickly because nothing criminal had happened. I believed them because believing anything else meant that while I was burying my wife, someone had placed my son's name beside the fire. Noah stared at the laptop. "Dad, did they think I did it?" "No." The lie arrived before thought. He looked at me as if he wanted to remain a child for one more second. Then he turned the laptop back. The flag was not public. It came from Vale Mutual Risk Registry, a private database used by schools, insurers, and employers. My uncle Victor owned it. Victor Vale was the reason the family survived every scandal. He ran the insurance arm, chaired the restitution fund, donated to fire safety charities, and spoke its funeral about lost teaching families how to rebuild. I called him. His assistant said he was in a board meeting. I drove to Vale Hall. The house sat above the Mill Road, a gray stone monument to people who called inherited control stewardship. Victor received me in grandfather's library, beneath portraits of men who had insured factories they also owned. He did not ask how Noah was. He said the flag should never have surfaced. That was how I learned he knew. "What flag?" "Sit down. What did you put in my son's record?" He folded his hands. "Noah was never charged." "What?" "You just let every institution think he killed his mother privately. We prevented prosecution for something he didn't do." Victor's mouth tightened. The night of the fire, Noah's access card opened the east wing. His hoodie tested positive for accelerant. Security captured him near the loading door. Noah had been 14. He told me he was home, asleep, while I was at the hospital with his mother. Victor said discovered Noah had been sneaking into the mill to build drones from scrap parts. She confronted him. He ran. The fire began 15 minutes later. "Why didn't you tell me? You were medicated, suicidal, and blaming yourself for not answering last call. And I agreed you could not survive losing your wife and your son to a criminal case." Was my grandmother, 90, sharp, brutal, and usually impossible to use as a shield. Victor slid a document across the desk. My signature sat at the bottom. Private diversion agreement and family restitution transfer. I had signed it 6 days after the funeral, during the period when my doctor adjusted grief medication, and Victor handled everything. The agreement admitted no guilt, but redirected life insurance into a trust for victim restoration and minor rehabilitation. $5 million. Controlled by Victor. Noah received counseling and supervision. I received silence. "You stole her insurance," I said. "I preserved your son." "What?" "By marking him dangerous. By keeping him free." The family version of mercy always arrived with a chain. My phone vibrated. "What?" I answered on speaker before Victor could object. Her voice sounded thin. "Leave that room." Victor stood. "Grant." He lied about Noah. He lied about the East Wing. Left the policy to the boy, not the trust. Victor reached for my phone. I stepped back. Whispered, "Come to me before he burns the tapes." "What tapes?" "The alarm tapes, the ones with his voice." A door opened near her. She gasped, "Don't let him cremate me before the wake." The line went dead. Victor looked at my phone as if it had betrayed him. "Your grandmother is confused." I left before he finished. By the time I reached his cottage, paramedics had covered her body with a white sheet. Victor arrived behind me, already wearing black. Vale was declared dead from cardiac arrest at 9:42 p.m. The family doctor signed the certificate before the medical examiner arrived. Victor said she had a weak heart, had climbed 3 flights of stairs the previous week to insult a contractor in person. Weak was not the word people used for her. Detective met me outside the cottage. She had worked fire and left the department 6 months later. Now she investigated suspicious deaths for the county. When she saw Victor, her expression did not change. That restraint told me she knew him well enough to dislike being observed. I told about the call. Victor said suffered from end-stage confusion and had been obsessing over fire records for months. Did she have a diagnosis? Asked. Victor produced one: cognitive decline, paranoia, delusional guilt. Signed by Dr. Allen, the same grief psychiatrist who treated me after died and evaluated Noah for private diversion. Every inconvenient family member met the same doctor. Asked whether Spotty could be examined. Victor said had requested immediate preparation for her wake and cremation afterward. I asked to see the directive. He showed it on his phone. Digital signature, Vale Mutual Registry timestamp. No paper, no witness, no cremation, I said. Victor looked at me with careful sadness. You do not decide. S. will named Victor executor. Her wake was scheduled for Saturday at Vale Hall because the family had already gathered for Noah's 18th birthday and trust review. I had not known there was a trust review. Victor said Noah's record required renewal before adulthood. If he signed a final accountability statement, the flag could be sealed forever. Sealed, I said, not cleared. The alternative is reopening's death. That is what I want. Victor's face hardened. You think you want it. Photographed room before Victor's people cleaned it. On the bedside table sat an empty water glass, 2 white pills, and a small wooden box shaped like a music cabinet. The box was empty except for ash. Not fire ash, cigar ash. Victor smoked black cigars he claimed were Cuban and legal through a loophole. Hated smoke. The ash. Victor objected. Ignored him. At home, Noah sat on the kitchen floor beside Soul. He had emptied every pocket. I found this in Mom's soldering case. He held up a thin metal card. Fireproof data tag. Had used them for industrial sensor backups. The label read, "If I die, play this before they speak for me." My hands went cold. We connected it to my laptop. One file appeared. His face filled the screen, grainy from a maintenance camera. She stood in the east wing of the mill, wearing a respirator around her neck. If this recording exists, Victor has activated the fire claim. She looked exhausted. I found duplicate policies on the east wing, phantom disability claims, and a list of workers declared injured after they were already dead. The mill isn't failing because of age. It is being harvested. Noah moved closer. Continued. If anything happens tonight, do not let them blame Noah. He is not here. I sent him home after finding his drone parts. I changed his access card myself. She held up the card reader log. The time on screen, 7:13 p.m. The fire started at 10:02. She looked off camera. Someone just opened the chemical room with Victor's override. The file ended. Not enough, but enough to kill the story Victor told me. Noah whispered she knew. Yes. Then why did you sign? Because I was broken. Because Victor said the paper protected him. Because I did not read. Because was in the ground and my son was silent. And I let the family handle the shape of grief. The answers came like smoke. Called at midnight. His preliminary blood test showed a sedative and a heart medication she had not been prescribed. The pill bottle beside her bed carried my name. A prescription from 3 years earlier. Victor had begun moving's death toward me too. Not as the killer yet. As the unstable son who lost a wife, endangered a child, and now accused an uncle while his grandmother died after calling him. The wake was not only a memorial. It was the next room in the frame. His life insurance policy had 3 versions. The public copy named me as primary beneficiary, and Noah as secondary. The settlement copy named the Family Restitution Trust. The original copy named Noah alone. Changed it 2 months before the fire, after discovering the East Wing fraud. She told the insurer that if she died, no Vale adult was to control the proceeds until Noah reached 18. The change was approved, then after death by a catastrophic risk writer, claiming Noah may have caused the insured event. Victor's registry applied the Slayer rule without court findings, indictment, or proof. My son did not inherit because a private database decided he might have killed his mother. The $5 million went into the trust Victor controlled. Records showed the money funded 3 things: Noah's therapy bills, a memorial scholarship in his name, and a loan to Vale Mutual to cover pending fraud exposure. Most of my wife's death benefit saved the company she had been investigating. Brooks, my attorney, traced the documents while Noah sat at the table sharpening pencils into splinters. The policy change had required 2 witnesses. One was, the other was my cousin Lydia, Victor's daughter and head of claims review. Lydia had that was calm and rational when she changed the beneficiary. After the fire, Lydia signed a second statement saying had been fearful of Noah's escalating fascination with fire. Mom knew I built drones, Noah said, not bombs. What? Said Lydia's statement, allowed Victor to move the money. I called Lydia. She answered from a car. I cannot talk. Did you lie about Noah? Did you? She began crying. Not enough to trust. Come to the wake, she said. That is your answer. Left something in the flower order. I do not know what, but Victor has everyone searching the chapel. Where are you? She hung up. 20 minutes later, a Vale security alert said Lydia's car had been found abandoned near the river road. Her phone remained inside. Blood on the steering wheel. No body. Victor called it a panic episode. He said Lydia struggled with guilt after death and may have harmed herself. The family had a diagnosis ready for every missing person. Searched Lydia's office and found a shredded copy of fireproof inventory. Recovered fragments showed 3 words. Sprinklers were disabled. Victor's official report said heat broke the sprinkler line before activation. Believed someone turned it off. The original alarm tapes would prove whether the system failed before or after the first flame. Said she had them. Victor wanted them. The wake flowers became our next target. Vale Hall used an in-house memorial florist for family funerals. Had ordered white lilies, black irises, and one arrangement shaped like an old mill wheel. Notice the order included cassette ribbon, an outdated floral term for decorative tape. Loved literal jokes. We visited the florist. She said Victor canceled the mill wheel arrangement and requested immediate disposal. The arrangement had already gone to Vale Hall. No one would let us inside until the wake. Noah said, I can get in. No, I know the service tunnels. No, I grew up there, and they are trying to make you look like an arsonist. He stopped. I heard myself becoming the kind of parent who confuses danger with proof of love. We waited until obtained a limited search order. Inside Vale Hall's memorial chapel, the canceled arrangement sat in a storage alcove. Its center held a wooden wheel wrapped in black ribbon. The ribbon was magnetic tape, old alarm system tape. No device could play it now, but Slab could digitize it. Then the sprinklers activated. Not water, foam. Fire suppression foam poured from the ceiling, dissolving petals, ribbon, labels, and evidence. The system had been triggered manually from the security office. The guard on duty was gone. Victor arrived with towels, concern, and cameras. He said grief made people see sabotage. Noah picked something from the ruined arrangement before anyone noticed. A small metal spindle. The tape had been wrapped around it, but the inner core remained dry. Etched into the metal were the initials and one phrase. Listen to the backup under the dead woman. Had hidden the real evidence with herself. Victor could cancel flowers. He could not search her coffin without witnesses before the wake. The hoodie that condemned Noah had never been his. It was the same gray sweatshirt he wore constantly at 14, but the fire report listed size small. Noah wore medium by then. The recovered garment smelled of accelerant and smoke. Investigators found it outside the east wing loading door. Victor said recognized it during her final call. His final call had never been played for me. Requested the audio. Vale Mutual claimed it was privileged because it came through the insurance hotline. A dead woman calling for help had become proprietary data. Filed an emergency motion. The court ordered production. Victor delivered a transcript instead of audio. Noah is here. Operator, are you sure? His hoodie, he opened the chemical room. Operator, stay calm. Tell I am sorry. The transcript sounded like a confession to my son's guilt. The operator was Lydia. We needed the recording. Lydia remained missing. Traced her last bank activity to a motel near the state line. She found Lydia alive, hidden under a false name with a bruised wrist and a prepaid phone. Lydia refused to return until she saw Noah. My son entered the motel room before I could protect him from another adult's breakdown. Lydia collapsed. I am so sorry. Noah stood rigid. For what part? The question stopped her. Lydia admitted the transcript was altered. Never said Noah was there. She said, Noah is clear. Lydia heard it. Victor took the call recording afterward and told her the family needed time to verify. By morning, the transcript read differently. Why didn't you fix it? Noah asked. Lydia looked at me. Because Victor said if I reopened it, would lose custody. The police would charge Noah. The mill would close. Everyone would know I approved duplicate policies. She had not only been afraid, she had something to lose. The hoodie came from a box of Noah's clothes stored at Vale Hall. Victor's security head planted it after coating it with varnish thinner from the East Wing. Lydia processed the evidence internally and did not challenge chain of custody. She later signed the statement about fearing Noah because Victor threatened to expose her role in false claims. "Did you kill Gran?" I asked. "No." "Did Victor?" She hesitated. "He asked me to prepare her medication reconciliation." "Did you change the pills?" "No, I refused." "Who didn't?" Lydia named a nurse, Brand, had cared for and worked part-time for Vale Wellness. Found's apartment empty. A resignation email had been sent at dawn. The email included a confession, saying she accidentally mixed pills and fled from shame. It was too clean. Checked highway cameras. His car crossed the bridge at 2:12 a.m. The driver was Victor's security head. His phone remained connected to a tower near Vale Hall. She had not resigned. She had been moved. We found her in the old employee dormitory beneath the mill office, sedated, alive. When she woke, she said Victor told her needed help sleeping before the wake. He gave her 2 white pills in an unmarked cup. She administered them, woke enough to ask, "Did he send you?" Panicked and called Victor. Victor arrived 20 minutes later. Was still breathing. He told to leave. When she returned with the doctor, was dead. Victor did not poison directly. He made a nurse start the chain, then controlled the silence. Had not meant to kill. She still carried the pills. Victim and participant. Again, placed under protection. Lydia gave us the original hotline call from her hidden drive. His voice came through the tiny motel speaker. "Noah is clear. I sent him home." Victor's override opened chemicals. The sprinklers were off before the heat. "Lydia, record this. Do not let him call it family restoration." Then alarms screamed. Lydia began crying while the recording played. Noah did not. He listened like an engineer. "Mom says the sprinklers were off before the heat." "Yes." "That means the fire was planned before anyone knew I left. The hoodie had been planted to give the plan a child-shaped exit." The alarm tape proved the fire began twice. At 9:48 p.m., the East Wing chemical room registered smoke. No general alarm sounded. The system labeled it maintenance vapor and suppressed notification. At 9:53, the sprinklers in zones E3 through E7 were disabled by manual override. At 9:57, the access card entered the East Wing. At 10:02, the public alarm began. Victor's report treated 10:02 as ignition. The tape showed 5 hidden minutes. 5 minutes for smoke to spread. 5 minutes for to enter without warning. 5 minutes for someone to turn off the system designed to save her. The manual override code belonged to Victor. He claimed it could have been cloned. The security office log showed Lydia's badge opening at 9:50. She had not been there. Her badge was in her purse at home. Victor's security head, Brent Cole, had collected employee badges during a system update that afternoon. Brent disappeared after his rescue. His company phone pinged near the Vale crematorium. My grandmother's body had been moved there for preparation. Victor intended to cremate her after the wake within 2 hours. If the backup was beneath the dead woman, we had little time. Obtained a court order barring cremation. Victor's lawyers appealed, arguing religious preference and executor authority. Had never attended church except weddings and funerals. The judge allowed a limited examination at the wake in the presence of family. Meaning public, meaning Victor's cameras, meaning he planned to turn the search into a spectacle of my instability. Noah said, "Let him." I looked at my son. He had spent 3 years believing his family saw a monster when they looked at him. Now he wanted evidence more than dignity. That frightened me. At the crematorium, found Brent's car. No Brent. In the trunk, a burner phone contained messages from Victor. "Move C before she talks. Keep L away from public feed. If DPUSHES, use the old footage." C was. L was Lydia. D was me. Old footage meant the night after's death. I remembered it badly. I had gone to the mill ruins, drunk and screaming. I punched Victor and told him I should have let the whole family burn. Security restrained me while Noah watched from the car. Victor had recorded it. At the wake, he could show me as dangerous before presenting Noah's apology. Said we needed a murder charge before Victor controlled the narrative. But's death remained indirect. Administered pills. Victor arrived later. The doctor certified heart failure. The evidence showed manipulation, not yet the final cause. Lydia agreed to testify at the wake. Agreed to. The protected witness was. I wrote her name on my hand before we entered Vale Hall because the family's victims deserved not to blur into categories. The wake began at 6 p.m. Victor placed open coffin beneath the chandelier. Her hands folded around a rosary she never owned. White lilies surrounded the casket. The cancelled mill wheel arrangement had been replaced with red roses, the kind Victor sent to living women after bored victories. Noah arrived in a black suit that made him look older than 17 and too young for the cameras. Victor embraced him. Noah did not move. "My boy," Victor said for the microphones, "tonight we heal." At 7:30, Victor announced the family reconciliation. At 7:45, Noah would sign the accountability statement. At 8:00, would be taken for cremation. The evidence under her body had 15 minutes. Approached the coffin with the court order. Victor looked to the guests, sorrowful and practiced. "My nephew believes my mother hid evidence inside her own deathbed. We will honor the law, even when grief has made it cruel." Then's eyes moved. Not opened. Moved. Felt for a pulse. Weak. Impossible. My grandmother was not dead. Victor had scheduled a cremation for a woman sedated deep enough to pass as a body. The wake became a medical emergency before it became a scandal. Paramedics lifted from the coffin while guests screamed into phones. Victor insisted she had suffered a rare post-mortem reflex until threatened to arrest him for interfering. His pulse was faint but present. Her skin was cold from hours in preparation storage. The mortician began sobbing. He said doctor had certified death. Doctor was not a medical examiner. He was Victor's wellness psychiatrist, the same man who labeled me unstable. Noah dangerous, delusional, and confused. Was transported under police escort. Victor followed until blocked him. "You are not family for medical access tonight." His mask cracked. "She is my mother." "What? Then you should be relieved she is alive." He had no answer ready. Beneath the coffin cushion, found a sealed metal envelope taped to the base. Had hidden the backup exactly where Victor would not search until after cremation. Inside were 3 items: a hard drive, a handwritten note, and a photograph of Victor at the mill loading dock at 9:46 p.m. on the night died. He had claimed to be at a charity dinner. The note said, "If I'm not dead, play this anyway." Had anticipated a staged death. Or she had planned a fake one, and Victor pushed it further. The hard drive contained alarm audio, sprinkler logs, and a video file titled Hannah Final Walk. The East Wing camera showed entering through smoke. Noah was not there. Victor stood near the loading dock with Brent Cole and Malcolm Vale, his younger brother. Malcolm was my father, dead 10 years. No, my father in this story was not named Malcolm. Avoid. Let's name him properly. My father, Thomas Vale, had died before. There was no Malcolm. The man beside Victor was Pike, Vale Mutual's risk director. Handed Victor a folder. Victor said, "If she reaches the server, the claim dies." Brent asked, "And the boy?" Victor answered, "The boy gives us motive without court." The video cut before the fire spread. Enough to prove intent. Not yet enough to prove Victor lit anything. Noah watched from behind. His face remained still. I wanted him to cry, shout, collapse. I wanted reaction, because reaction would let me be useful. Instead, he said, he planned the flag before Mom was trapped. Yes, the hidden juvenile record had not been an emergency response. It was part of the claim structure. If a family minor caused the fire, Vale Mutual could redirect policy, collect reinsurance, and avoid scrutiny over duplicate policies, because the event became internal misconduct. Victor arrived at the chapel door with 2 lawyers and 6 security officers. Federal agents arrived behind him, had sent the coffin evidence immediately. Victor was detained but not yet arrested. He shouted that sedation was a medical error, and that video was incomplete. Then the chapel screens changed. Someone remotely accessed the wake feed. Old footage played. Me outside the burned mill, drunk, screaming that Victor should have died instead of. Then a clip of Noah at 12 lighting birthday candles with shaking hands. Then edited therapy notes describing his fire fixation. Victor had prepared the counterattack, even from detention. The hall murmured. People believed video more quickly than correction. Noah walked to the microphone. He looked at the screen showing his younger self. I liked fire because Mom taught me combustion engines. The room quieted. I liked building drones. I liked machines. My family turned that into evidence because they needed a child to blame. He placed the accountability statement on the podium, then tore it in half. The gesture was dramatic, maybe dangerous, absolutely his. At the hospital, woke long enough to ask whether Victor had cried at the coffin. I said yes. She smiled weakly. Good means he thought I was still useful. Then she said had found more than insurance fraud. The mill fire covered deaths from 10 years of poisoned varnish exposure. Workers had signed settlements through Vale Mutual. Some were dead before the claims were filed. My wife's insurance was one thread. The body beneath the family fortune was much larger. Vale Mutual insured workers against injuries it helped create. The mill used a varnish compound banned in 3 states. Victor's division arranged cheaper supply through shell vendors, then sold disability policies to employees exposed to it. When workers developed neurological symptoms, Vale doctors diagnosed unrelated conditions. When some died, their families received modest settlements in exchange for confidentiality. Then Victor did something worse. He reopened their claims after death. The company created phantom rehabilitation payments, caregiver reimbursements, and equipment invoices under names of workers already buried. Those funds moved through Memorial Trust and back into Vale Mutual. Victor used dead workers to steal money from reinsurance pools, then used death and Noah's frame to hide the pattern. Had known part of it. She signed early settlements, believing the company was preventing lawsuits that would bankrupt the town. She said every evil in the family began as temporary protection. Interviewed her at the hospital, was lucid, furious, and physically weak enough that every sentence cost her. She admitted calling Victor before calling me. I gave him one chance to cancel the Wake reconciliation. What did he say? Asked. That a clean ending was kinder than public ruin. She laughed once, then coughed. He has always loved kindness when other people pay for it. Said Pike controlled the worker ledgers. Brent handled physical evidence. Lydia processed the claims. Administered the pills, but did not know the larger plan. What about you? Asked. Closed her eyes. I taught Victor that Vale money must never leave the family. Truth without absolution. The federal investigation expanded. Victor's lawyers argued the Wake evidence had been obtained through improper search of a coffin before confirmed death. The judge said a living woman cannot claim corpse privacy through the man who tried to cremate her. For once, law found the obvious door. Victor made bail on medical grounds after 2 days. The next morning, Noah's background flag changed. It no longer said private diversion. It said open arson investigation. My son became publicly searchable. News outlets ran headlines. Family fire scandal. Teen heir questioned again. Victor could not keep the private frame, so he made it public. The prosecutor promised restraint, but did not remove the flag immediately. Systems protect themselves through sequence. Correcting harm requires forms. Creating it requires a login. Noah returned to school and found Arson boy scratched into his locker. He did not tell me until I saw blood on his knuckles. He had punched the metal door, not a person. I thought clearing it would feel different, he said. We have not cleared it yet. Mom did. She started. He looked toward the burned mill road. I want to testify. At 17. At 18 next week. The family had always used his age depending on convenience. Too young to control money. Old enough to carry blame. We met with an advocate. Noah decided what he would say and what remained private. Not every therapy note. Not every childhood hobby. Not every grief reaction. Victor had weaponized openness. We would not answer by giving the public full ownership of Noah's pain. At Vale Hall, Lydia returned under protection and opened the claims archive. She had kept a mirror server because Victor taught her never to trust one ledger when blackmail required 2. The archive showed 5 names repeated across fire policies, worker claims, and charitable grants. One name appeared besides final investigation. Rook, the mill night watchman, officially died in the fire while trying to save. His widow received a hero settlement, but the alarm tape showed no third body in the East Wing. Rook's death certificate had been issued without remains. Victor may have used a living man as a dead hero. We found under a new name in a Vale-funded sober living facility. He was alive, addicted, frightened, and missing 3 fingers from old burns. He said Brent set the fire. Victor gave the order and was still breathing when they locked the East Wing door. Rook had been paid to disappear. Not enough to thrive, enough to remain ashamed. He worked night security the evening died. Victor told him a controlled fire would destroy obsolete inventory and trigger an insurance claim large enough to save pensions. Believed the East Wing was empty. Then arrived. She shouted that the sprinklers were disabled and ordered him to open the emergency doors. Brent Cole struck her. Not hard enough to kill, hard enough to make her fall. Froze. He told himself Brent would carry her out. Victor arrived and said, if she leaves, every worker case opens. Asked what about the boy. Victor said Noah would not be charged. He would receive help. The family would survive. Pulled the manual alarm anyway at 10:02. 5 minutes too late. Then he ran. Brent later found him and burned his hand as punishment. Vale Mutual declared him dead, paid his widow through a settlement, and placed him under a new identity with drugs, housing, and threats. Why talk now? Asked. Looked at Noah. Because they made a child carry what I did. Noah did not thank him. He asked, did my mom ask for me? Cried. She said tell Noah he was clear. She kept saying that. The words entered my son like delayed oxygen. Had spent her last minutes trying to protect the child they planned to blame. His testimony gave prosecutors enough to charge Brent Cole and Victor with conspiracy, insurance fraud, obstruction, and manslaughter pending murder review. Brent was arrested at the airport. Pike turned state witness after seeing alive. He claimed Victor ordered everything. Victor claimed managed the fire claim and lied for immunity. Each man had enough guilt to make the other believable. Then Lydia vanished again, this time by choice. She left a video addressed to Noah. I helped process the false diversion. I told myself keeping you out of court was mercy. I also kept my job, my house, my father's approval, and my place in the family. I am going to the prosecutor with the ledger, but I cannot face you before I do. She appeared at the federal courthouse 4 hours later with 3 drives. Victor's lawyers called her unstable. They had her therapy notes ready. Of course, the family had dossiers on everyone. Lydia's drives contained worker settlements, fake rehabilitation claims, reinsurance transfers, and the complete fire planning chain. One file carried my name, Vale Post-Loss Stabilization. It listed medication schedule, grief state, custody vulnerability, and recommended signing windows. Victor had planned when to place the diversion agreement in front of me. Doctor advised waiting until I had been awake 30 minutes after evening medication, before visitors arrived, when resistance was lowest. I had not merely failed to read. They selected the moment when reading was least likely. Still, my signature remained. Noah read the file. They studied you. Yes. Does that make it not your fault? It makes it not only my fault. He nodded. We were learning precision as a survival skill. Victor's next move came through civil court. He sued Noah for breach of the diversion agreement and sought control of policy funds, claiming the boy's public statements damaged the family restitution trust. A child framed by a fraud was being sued for harming the instrument that stole from him. The hearing was set for the same day as rescheduled wake. Insisted on attending in a wheelchair. I want him to look at me while the family hears it, she said. Her doctor said she was too weak. She said weakness had never stopped men from speaking for her, so it would not stop her from speaking once for herself. The wake would happen again. This time the dead woman was alive. The woman who died would finally be heard. Ordered 2 coffins for her second wake. 1 empty, 1 symbolic. She placed the empty one at the front for herself. The second held recovered evidence. The fireproof drive, alarm tape spindles, worker ledgers, and a photograph of the mill before the fire. Victor's lawyers tried to block the arrangement, calling it prejudicial. Said if the family could hold a memorial for her while she breathed, it could tolerate a coffin for evidence. The judge allowed it because the civil hearing and wake had merged by family design. Victor arrived with medical attendants, security, and a face softened by public sorrow. He approached his wheelchair. Mother, she looked at him. Do not perform sonship near my chair. Cameras caught it. For once, her cruelty served a useful purpose. The ceremony began with prayer. Interrupted the minister. We will not ask God to bless records men altered. Then she spoke. She admitted signing worker settlements. She did not fully investigate. Admitted teaching Victor that family survival came before outside claims. Admitted treating as disloyal when questioned the mill. I thought loyalty meant staying inside the room while fixing it, she said. The room was the weapon. She turned toward Noah. I let them put your name on a private shame because I believed temporary lies could protect a child until adults repaired damage. Noah said nothing. Continued. I was wrong before I was almost dead. The room held its breath. Victor's lawyer objected to testimony without cross-examination. Said then asked quickly, I may not live long enough for your strategy. The judge allowed limited questioning. Victor's lawyer asked whether she hated her son. Yes. A murmurs. Do you love him? Yes. The lawyer paused. She had not fallen into the trap. He asked whether her memory could be trusted. Named the pills gave her, the cigar ash in the box, Victor's words when he thought she could not respond, and the exact time he said, cremation solves confusion. Had a hidden audio recorder from his pocket. The phrase matched. Victor stopped looking sorrowful. Pike next, then Lydia. Then, each witness carried compromise, created false claims. Lydia altered records, ran from, administered pills, signed settlements, me with my signature. No clean witness walked into the hall. That made Victor's strategy harder. He could not discredit everyone by revealing guilt when guilt was already named. Noah took the microphone last. He did not describe nightmares. He did not defend his childhood interest in machines. He read's beneficiary change. My mother left the policy to me because she did not want any Vale adult controlling it. Then he placed the document in the evidence coffin. I do not accept the restitution trust. I do not accept the diversion agreement. I did not start the fire. Victor stood. You ungrateful little. He stopped before completing the sentence. Too late. The room heard the tone beneath 3 years of protective language. Then's final hotline call played. Noah is clear. The phrase repeated through the speakers. Noah is clear. Noah is clear. The judge ordered the private arson flag removed immediately and referred the registry for federal oversight. The university representative in the room confirmed Noah's admission would be restored pending standard review. The audience expected relief. Noah looked exhausted. A name can be cleared in a minute. A child does not recover those years on schedule. Victor was arrested before leaving the hall. Closed her eyes. Now cremate me later, she said. She died 3 days afterward. Naturally this time. Independently examined. No sedatives. No hidden directive. Her third funeral was small, private, and honest enough to be ugly. Victor's defense began with jobs. Vale Furniture employed 800 workers when the fire happened. The mill was old, debt-heavy, and full of environmental liabilities. The reinsurance claim saved the pension plan, restored payroll, and prevented foreclosure on half the town. Therefore, he argued, the fire was economic triage. He intending's death. He framing Noah as anything more than risk containment. He stealing the policy because the trust spent money on counseling, scholarships, and worker grants. He could describe every theft as partial generosity. The prosecutor played the fire planning video. Victor said the line about Noah giving motive referred to insurance underwriting, not blame. Experts explained otherwise. Then Victor looked at the jury and said something more effective than denial. Signed, my name entered the room. He described my grief, medication, and dependency. He said I understood Noah's risk and agreed to private resolution. He showed photographs of me at the mill ruins, drunk and violent. He did not need to make himself innocent. He needed to make me too compromised to carry the story. Prepared me, do not perform purity. So I did not. That I signed without reading. That I accepted money from the trust for Noah's therapy. That I ignored warnings about the mill because family explanations felt easier than company collapse. That I was drunk at the ruins. That I let Victor speak for me when I should have insisted on outside counsel. Victor's lawyer asked whether I blamed him for my failures. No, he smiled. Then why are we here? Because my failures did not lock the East Wing door. They did not alter the hotline call. They did not put my son's name in a private arson registry. They did not sedate or redirects policy. Specificity again. Victor hated specificity. He preferred fog large enough to hide everyone. Noah in a closed session for parts related to juvenile records. He allowed the final statement public. My uncle says he saved the town. Maybe money reached people. Maybe some workers kept homes. I am glad if they did. But he did not ask whether I agreed to be the dead boy's reason. He did not ask my mother if she agreed to die inside a claim. Saving people with someone else's name is not saving. Reporters printed the last line. Victor's lawyers called it emotional. The jury called it evidence of harm. Described leaving. He was charged separately for obstruction and false identity fraud. He did not ask the jury to see him as a hero. Lydia admitted altering the transcript, admitted giving the pills, admitted creating phantom claims. Brent admitted under plea that he locked the East Wing door while remained inside. He insisted Victor ordered it. Victor stared at him like betrayal existed only when underlings spoke. The trial revealed one more death. A worker named Rosa had been alive when Vale Mutual filed her final disability claim. The company declared her unable to consent, appointed a claim guardian, and moved payments through the phantom system. Rosa had died 2 months later in a care home after benefits were cut. Her daughter, my mother's pain became invoices. The phrase widened the case beyond. Victor had not made one tragic choice. He operated a machine. He called it town survival, because machines sound less monstrous when they employ neighbors. The jury deliberated 8 days. Victor was convicted of manslaughter in death, attempted unlawful cremation and abuse in case, insurance fraud, obstruction, conspiracy, evidence fabrication, and financial crimes tied to dead workers. The murder charge did not hold. The jury believed he intended the fire and the cover-up, not necessarily death. No verdict could contain everything. Noah asked whether that meant Mom's death mattered less. No, I said. It means the law named what it could prove. He nodded. Is that enough? No. Truth was not the same as enough. His policy returned to Noah with interest. 5 million became 6.8. The insurer wanted to pay quietly after Victor's conviction. Refused confidentiality. Noah was 18 by then. He signed no silence agreement. The money arrived in a court-managed account because restitution claims remained open. Worker families argued the trust used policy to finance fraud that touched their settlements. Some believed Noah should receive all of it because the policy was hers. Others argued the returns came from stolen claim flows. Noah listened to every hearing. I told him he did not have to. He said, everyone made decisions for me because money was complicated. I'm not leaving when it becomes complicated again. The court separated principal from proceeds. The original policy and direct interest belonged to Noah. Fraud-derived gains entered worker restitution. Noah voluntarily added 1 million to a fund for employees harmed by the phantom claims. Reporters praised him. He hated it. It sounds like I'm donating money I earned, he said. Mom died. He refused interviews. The scholarship in his name was dissolved and rebuilt under an independent board with worker family seats. Noah declined a position. He said grief did not qualify him to supervise other people's education. His estate left me Vale Hall. I sold it to the county for $1 and a long-term maintenance agreement. It became a public labor archive and fire safety training center. Victor called it vandalism from prison. He said family property should remain family property. I mailed no reply. Lydia entered a cooperation agreement and lost her insurance license. She moved away and wrote Noah a letter every year. He read the first one, not the second. Boundaries can change without notice. Received probation for her role in sedation due to cooperation and limited knowledge. Had written a note requesting leniency if told the truth. Even dying managed outcomes. We honored the note but did not call it forgiveness. Rook against Vale Mutual and served time for obstruction. His widow learned he was alive on the news. She sued him and the company. Reasonable. Brent received a long sentence. Received less. The unequal punishments angered many families. Reasonable too. Justice distributes proof, not pain. Noah began university 1 year late. He studied mechanical engineering. The first semester, a student recognized him from the trial and asked whether he was the fire kid. Noah said, no, I'm the engineering major. A small correction. A huge one. I moved into a rented apartment near campus for 3 months, then left because he asked me to. I want you close enough to call, he said, not close enough to monitor. I had spent years afraid he would disappear into systems. He needed not to disappear into my fear. His insurance money was not ours alone. Neither was her story, but Noah's life remained his. A final file on his drive remained encrypted until Noah's 18th birthday. The password was his first spoken sentence. Neither of us remembered. Had written it in his baby book. No more smoke. He said it after burning toast, set off the apartment alarm when he was 2. The phrase opened the file. Appeared in our old kitchen, not the mill. She was recording for me. I know you want Victor to be a better man, because needing him feels safer than fighting him. She said I had ignored her concerns about Vale Mutual, because I believed family institutions could be corrected privately. She said I had asked her not to call state regulators until after the holiday quarter because layoffs might follow. True. She said I loved Noah fiercely, but sometimes used him as a reason to avoid conflict. Also true. Then she said if she died, I should not turn her into a saint to punish myself. That sentence found me where verdicts had not. I wanted perfect because perfection made the crime simpler and my grief cleaner. She was brave, angry, impatient, secretive, and done waiting for me. The final file named an account. Before the fire, transferred copies of her evidence to a workers' clinic and instructed them to release files if she failed to appear. The clinic director never did. Why? Vale Mutual insured the clinic. Another pressure point. The director, Dr. Samuel Reed, had used evidence to negotiate higher reimbursement for patients quietly while leaving the company intact. He helped some workers. He also preserved the system. The prosecutor reopened clinic records. More phantom claims appeared. Noah asked whether everyone who helped was also guilty. Not everyone. Too many. Yes. The investigation expanded for another year. Each expansion diluted the simple story of Victor as monster. He remained central, but the machine had many hands. His last file named me too. Not as criminal, as someone she loved who had delayed truth. I entered that file into the archive with Noah's permission and redacted private marital passages. Some viewers later accused us of hiding damaging material. Noah said people who didn't know her don't get all of her. Exactly. A public truth does not require public ownership of every intimate sentence. I began speaking at corporate fraud trainings, then stopped after 2 events because audiences wanted a redemption arc from the grieving husband. I did not want to become useful in that way. Instead, I worked with auditing private risk databases. We found dozens of juvenile flags that had no court basis. Noah's case was extreme. The practice was not. His name helped reform the system. He did not have to attend. A person harmed by a mechanism does not owe the world mechanical repair. When Noah came home for winter break, he asked to watch his file alone. I gave him the drive. He emerged 2 hours later with red eyes. She was mad at you. Yes. She loved you. Yes. Both. He nodded. We were becoming fluent in the word. Lydia visited Victor in prison after saying she never would. She told Noah before she went. He said, "Why tell me? Because I do not want you to hear from someone else." He appreciated the honesty and hated the visit anyway. Lydia returned pale. Victor told her she had betrayed the town, ruined the family, and let turn Noah against his own blood. He also asked whether she was eating enough and remembered her childhood allergy. Care and cruelty in 1 hour. Lydia said she understood how he kept everyone attached. Noah asked if she would visit again. Yes. He walked out. Later he said, "I want her to hate him." I know. Is that unfair? Yes. Do I get to feel it? Yes. Lydia's cooperation did not erase daughterhood. It did not make her safe for Noah. They settled into distant contact. Holiday cards, no apologies unless specific, no requests for reassurance. Victor appealed. His lawyers argued death resulted from unforeseeable panic by Brent, and the court rejected most claims but ordered resentencing on 1 financial count. Victor called it vindication. The appellate opinion called it clerical. He sent me a copy with 1 line underlined. Intent to defraud was clear. He wrote in the margin, "Clear is not complete." For once, he was right in the wrong direction. Legal clarity did not complete moral truth. I did not answer. His 3rd funeral continued to trouble me. She had been almost murdered, then died naturally, then became publicly useful. I worried we used her survival too. Said had known exactly what she was doing. That did not absolve us from asking. I placed her hospital testimony in the archive with her consent note and a warning about sedation abuse. No heroic title. No matriarch who exposed her son. She had helped build him. She had helped stop him. Both. Noah joined a campus fire safety lab. He studied sprinkler failures and emergency override auditing. I asked whether that felt too close. He said, "It is close. That does not mean it is wrong." He was careful not to let the family steal his interest in machines. Victor had turned combustion into suspicion. Noah turned it into expertise. At 19, he gave a presentation on fail-safe design. He used no personal story. Afterward, the professor told him he had strong intuition for hidden failure points. Noah said, "I grew up around them." The professor laughed, not knowing. That was fine. Not every room needed full context. Lydia chose prison visits. Noah chose distance. I chose not to make either choice the family verdict. The hardest part of justice was accepting that other people's relationships with the guilty would not arrange themselves around my injury. The town did not thank us unanimously. Some workers lost jobs when Vale Mutual collapsed. Others received compensation, but not enough. Local shops closed after the mill shut permanently. Families who had defended Victor felt humiliated and doubled down. At a grocery store, a man told Noah his mother would have wanted the town saved. Noah left without answering. I followed the man to the parking lot and nearly became the video Victor had always wanted. Noah stopped me. "Don't give him proof." The phrase hurt because it was correct. The town had benefited from the fraud in ways people did not want to calculate. Pension checks funded mortgages. Charity grants paid hospital bills. Memorial scholarship helped students. The machine fed people while eating others. Exposure interrupted both. A public meeting about restitution turned hostile. A former supervisor said if had reported privately, the company could have fixed things without collapse. Noah stood. She did report privately. That is how she died. Silence. Then someone shouted that he was using his mother for sympathy. He sat down. The meeting ended with no resolution. Justice did not produce grateful communities. It produced accounting. Accounting makes everyone nervous. The worker families poisoned by varnish wanted medical monitoring funded first. Former employees wanted pensions. Town officials wanted replacement industry. Policy fund was not enough. Vale Hall sale was not enough. Victor's assets were not enough. The state created a recovery plan. It helped. It also took years. During those years, some people wanted the old lie back because it had paid weekly. I understood more than I wanted to. That understanding did not make the lie acceptable. Noah began avoiding town. When he returned for his state hearing, someone spray-painted "Burn Boy" on his car. This time he did not punch metal. He photographed it, filed a report, and drove to campus. Growth sometimes looks like paperwork. Filed civil claims against the private risk registry. Universities and insurers agreed to stop using juvenile flags without disclosure and appeal. Noah's record became the test case. He refused to speak publicly, but allowed documents. The settlement included thousands of corrected files. Some children never knew why opportunities reopened. That pleased him. I don't need them to know me. The town wanted the lie back. My son wanted his life forward. Those directions were incompatible. 2 years after Victor's conviction, the mill site burned again. This time no one died. The Old West warehouse, empty since the company collapse, caught fire during a storm. Investigators found accelerant and a message painted on the wall. No more Vale lies. Reporters called me before firefighters cleared the scene. Speculation returned faster than smoke. Was it Noah? A copycat? A victim seeking revenge? The sheriff asked Noah for an alibi gently enough to hurt. He provided one. He was in a university lab, 70 miles away with 4 witnesses. Still, online posts revived old claims. False records do not vanish. They sleep until fire wakes them. Investigated. The arsonist was Rosa's grandson, Caleb. His mother's claim had been stolen through Vale Mutual. He believed burning the empty mill would force the state to speed restitution. No one was injured because he checked the building first. He still committed arson. He called Noah from jail to apologize. Noah accepted the call. Caleb said, "They listened when you burned nothing. I thought maybe actual fire would make them listen to us." Noah said, "They didn't listen to me because I burned nothing. They listened because evidence made them." Caleb cried. The court considered restorative sentencing due to no injuries and motive tied to harm. Noah wrote a statement asking that Caleb not be used as proof victims were unstable. He did not ask for no punishment. Specificity again. The second fire forced cleanup of remaining chemicals. It also delayed the archive opening. People blamed Caleb. Correctly, they also blamed the years the site sat contaminated because no one wanted to own the cost. Also correctly, I visited Victor once after the second fire. I do not know why. Maybe to see whether age had reduced him. It had not. He said, "This is what happens when you teach people grievance is identity." I said, "You taught people silence was safety." He smiled. Then we both failed them. The move was obvious, shared abstraction. "No," I said, "Caleb lit the warehouse. You built the warehouse of reasons." Victor leaned back, still dramatic. "Perhaps, but true enough." He asked about Noah. "I won't tell you. He is family. He is not your information." Victor looked genuinely wounded. Control had always masqueraded as concern. I left before he turned wound into speech. The mill site burned again. This time the truth survived, because evidence lived in more places than the building. That was the lesson had tried to teach before dying. Noah inherited the remaining memorial scholarship fund at 21. The independent board dissolved after distributing grants for 3 years. The balance, around $800,000, legally reverted to named beneficiary. Noah could keep it. The money came from donations made after her death and earnings tied to the false restitution trust. He asked the Worker Family Council what they wanted. They did not agree. Some said keep it, meant it for him. Some said split it. Some said any money touched by Vale should return to the harmed families. Noah listened. Then he created a fund for technical education for children of injured workers, administered by the council with one restriction: no use of name unless the family chose. People had used her name enough. He kept $50,000 for graduate school. He told me before finalizing. Is that selfish? No. Is it enough? No amount is enough. He laughed without humor. Good answer. The fund did not make him noble. It made money move from a frozen symbol into use. Victor wrote from prison, calling the gift performative guilt. Noah did not respond. Lydia sent a note saying would be proud. Noah did not respond to that either. He said compliments could feel like claims too. He was right. At the archive opening, this exhibit included her technical findings, final call, and policy change. It did not include wedding photographs, private letters, or the last file about our marriage. A visitor asked why not show the whole woman. Noah answered, because you are not owed the whole woman to believe the evidence. The visitor apologized. Later, Noah worried he had been rude. Maybe he had. Rudeness was not the largest harm in the room. I began dating someone after 6 years. Her name was. Noah met her and was polite, then distant. He said he felt as if letting me be happy reduced its importance. I said happiness was not a replacement claim. He said he knew intellectually. Emotionally took longer. We did not force family dinners until he wanted them. The family had forced enough rooms. Noah gave away most memorial money and kept some. The balance mattered. Martyrdom is another way survivors can be made useful. He deserved a future that did not spend every dollar proving he remembered. Left one sealed letter to be opened after all civil settlements. It accused everyone. Victor for the fire, fraud, and near cremation. Lydia for cowardice. Me for outsourcing grief. The town for accepting charity without asking why the checks grew after deaths. For secrecy. Noah for nothing. The letter said he was the only person in the central crime who had not been given meaningful choice at the time. He was angry when he read it. Why accuse Mom? Wrote that hid evidence from me. Planned to go public without warning the worker families first, and underestimated the danger of moving alone. Those were not moral equivalents. They were observations. Noah wanted left untouched. I understood. Then he read the next paragraph. Do not turn the dead into furniture for your innocence. Remained sharp from paper. Noah folded the letter and walked away. He returned an hour later. I hate that she can still win arguments. She enjoyed that. Do you think Mom was wrong? I think she was isolated and right about the crime. I think she made some dangerous choices because the rest of us made safer choices impossible. He accepted that, not because it comforted him, because it allowed to remain human. Requested no statue, no annual dinner, and no scholarship in her name. She wanted her estate records kept with the settlement documents. Her letter ended. I loved my family badly. If you preserve anything, preserve the adverb. Badly, an honest word. We placed the letter in the archive, with redactions Noah approved. Victor objected from prison, claiming defamation by the dead. The court dismissed it. Lydia visited the archive privately. She left flowers beneath's letter and a note reading, I am still trying. Noah removed the flowers because, said no memorials. He left the note. Trying was not worship. This letter accused everyone. Not to flatten guilt, to prevent the family from treating Victor as the container for all rot. Containers leak. We needed records. The case continued in paperwork long after prison doors closed. Insurance regulators unwound reinsurance claims. Families corrected death certificates. Medical monitors tracked former mill workers. Noah's juvenile flag disappeared from major systems, but resurfaced in background checks from cheap vendors. Each time we filed corrections, each correction took weeks. A lie designed for databases becomes a ghost with copies. Noah learned to carry a court order when traveling. He hated it. At an airport, an agent pulled him aside after a fire-related security alert. He missed his flight. The supervisor apologized and gave him a voucher. Noah tore it up after leaving, not because money was useless, because apologies that do not repair systems feel like receipts for humiliation. Sued the vendor. Another database changed. One ghost less. I married in a courthouse with 6 people present. Noah attended and hugged her afterward. He did not call her family. She did not ask him to. Lydia sent a gift. Noah returned it unopened. Then, 2 years later, he wrote her a short email asking for original policy witness notes. She sent scans without commentary. That became their relationship for a while. Specific requests, specific answers, no emotional invoice. Victor died in prison at 78. His final statement claimed history would understand the choices he made to preserve the town. History can be tempted by scale. The archive placed his statement beside the worker ledger's call and Noah's corrected record. Let future readers decide with documents. We did not hold a family funeral. Lydia did. Noah did not attend. I did not either. I felt sad anyway. Sadness does not require attendance. The case did not end with prison, because harm had been administrative before it became dramatic. It ended, if that word applies, in corrected forms, new policies, paid claims, and people learning not to trust private registries that mark children dangerous without court review. That ending was less satisfying than a wake confrontation. It mattered more. Noah's senior project was a mechanical emergency door that opened during power loss, smoke failure, and manual override conflict. He designed it so no executive code could keep it locked during active alarm without leaving a physical trace. He never mentioned in the presentation. The faculty panel praised the design. A fire equipment company offered to license it. Noah accepted only after adding a clause allowing discounted use in public schools and worker facilities. Would have liked the engineering. Maybe. I have learned not to speak for her too often. The first doors were installed at the renovated mill archive. Noah stood beside the frame while technicians tested failure modes. At one point, the door opened by itself after detecting simulated override abuse. He smiled, not triumph, something quieter, a machine refusing to become a locked room. I asked whether he felt closure. No, anything, better design. That was enough. Lydia attended the installation from the back row. Noah saw her and did not leave. Afterward, she said, "Your mom would have understood the mechanism." He answered yes. One word, no forgiveness statement, no rejection. A door cracked open without obligation. Vale Hall's archive installed a wall listing corrected claims. Rosa, Rook's false death, Brand's testimony, sedation, Vale, Noah Vale. Noah objected to his name appearing under victims. I was not dead. The board changed the category to people falsely blamed or erased. Language mattered. My son built fireproof doors. He could not save his mother with them. He could make it harder for another to be locked behind an executive override. That did not transform tragedy into purpose. It turned knowledge into structure. 10 years after the first wake, Noah invited me to the old mill road. The east wing was gone. The county left its footprint marked in stone beside the archive and training center. Trees had begun claiming the edges. Noah was 27, taller than me, calmer than the boy who stared at a university rejection saying he killed his mother. He carried a small metal box. Inside were the torn accountability statement, the corrected insurance record, and fireproof data tag. "I don't want these in my apartment anymore," he said. "What do you want to do?" "Archive the records, keep the tag." His choice. We walked to the reading room and signed transfer forms. The archivist asked whether he wanted to make a statement. No. Then he changed his mind. One sentence. "What?" She recorded. I did not start the fire, and clearing that fact did not return what the lie took. He signed. The sentence entered the archive. Outside, families toured the exhibit. Some came for labor history, some for fire safety. Some because scandal becomes tourism no matter how carefully you resist. Noah did not watch them long. We walked to the hill above the mill, where used to sketch machine parts while pretending to enjoy picnics. He said, "Do you think Mom would be angry I kept some money?" "Yes." I smiled. She might also be relieved. Both. He laughed. The word had become family language. Lydia lived across the state and had begun working for a nonprofit that helped people challenge insurance denials. Noah spoke to her twice a year, became a nurse advocate after losing her license temporarily, disappeared again, this time legally, after finishing probation and settling with his widow. His letter remained the most requested archive item. Victor's statement remained the second. People are drawn to villains who explain themselves. His technical files were requested less often. They mattered more. Noah's door design was installed in 12 public buildings. He refused to name it after his mother. She was not a product line, he said. We stood until the light changed. The mill road looked ordinary. That felt offensive once. Now it felt merciful. The place where my wife died did not have to remain dramatic every day to remain true. Noah placed the metal tag on his, not as evidence, as memory. My uncle stole my dead wife's insurance and framed my son for arson. At my grandmother's wake, we exposed him. That is the title version. The longer version is messier. My grandmother helped build the values that nearly killed her. My cousin lied and later told the truth. A nurse obeyed and regretted it. A watchman ran. A town benefited and suffered. I signed papers I did not read. My wife died trying to keep our son clear, and the boy they blamed outgrew their fire without becoming anyone's symbol. As we left, the archive's emergency doors opened for a routine test. No alarm, no smoke, just metal moving because it was designed to open. Noah watched them and nodded once. Then we went home.
You fed me lies with poison lips. I bled from every sinking ship. But now I rise with sharpened grace. You'll see the venom in my face. You broke my wings, I grew my claws. Now hear the wrath behind my cause. I've got a venom heart, tearing your world apart. You built your throne on hollow truth. Now feel the fire of my youth. No more tears, no more regret. I'm the storm you won't forget. You played the game, you pulled the strings, but I'm the chaos fate now brings. I won't be silent, won't be tamed. You'll scream before you say my name.